Hello and welcome everybody to today's Google Hangout. We have a very special guest, and if you've been with us very long, I guarantee you've heard of him, Dr. Fred DiDomenico, and he's here to enlighten us about how to be great leaders in our community. So in just a second, I'm going to turn it over to him. I just want to remind you that there is a comment section below. Please place a comment with where you're listening in from. Any questions that you have during this process, let me know. I'll make sure Dr. Fred gets them. And again, we just really appreciate you being here and taking your lunchtime to just to be with us and spend some time with us. And Dr. Fred, same goes to you. Thank you so much for being here, and thank you for sharing your wisdom with us. I really appreciate it.
Thanks, brother. It's always great to be here and to contribute to such a great cause with Chiron Thought Leaders. So, yeah, I'm on the West Coast, so we're just in between breakfast and lunch here.
Oh, so, yeah, you're at brunch.
Yeah, so it's all good.
Awesome.
I have a great message that I believe. As a coach, people ask questions, and first of all, some of the challenges in the question, but a very common question is, what's the one thing that if anybody could work on one thing, what would it be to go from where you are to your vision? And my answer is always the same. It's really conviction. To go from where you are to manifesting your vision is so many small things. It's big things and small things. But if I had to pick one thing, it's conviction. So knowing that, I gave this talk in our Denver semi-annual back in June. And, as a life coach, what I found was chiropractors are people too. And when I started coaching, that was kind of interesting discovery, because I thought with a life purpose that you weren't a person. You focused on contributing to the lives of others, so you didn't bring in your own self-esteem or your own issues. And so that's the one powerful thing I know about Elite, but just as a general principle, when you know that this is your sole purpose, that your ability to look beyond yourself and into changing humanity becomes so strong that alone can be a great conviction. But not everybody feels that. So that's why I want to bring you fulfilling your sole purpose in your practice and in your life. Really realizing your purpose, vision, and destiny for your life right now. When's that? Right now.
Right
Thank
now.
you very much. So with that, if it's okay, Tabor, I'd just like to go ahead and get started.
Yes, sir. I'm going to turn over to you.
Okay, so let's rock and roll. So when you look at this slide, these are examples of divine-inspired leaders that really changed humanity. We have Nelson Mandela on the left. The crowd with all those thousands and thousands of people was a crowd coming to see Gandhi. We have Martin Luther King Jr. and then Mother Teresa. So what did they have that other people didn't have? Well, it's not that other people don't have, but what was their focus? And that's what I really want to talk about. What were they like? What did they feel in their body? What was the meaning of their life purpose that had them changing humanity? So I want to go through just a little bit of what their lives looked like so you can really see what conviction is. I think that spinal corrective care and chiropractic is one of the greatest gifts ever given to humanity. And so if we're going to change humanity, we say the one-liner, if you want to grow your practice, move from community to focusing on humanity. Now, their focus was definitely on humanity. So what does that look like? Well, let's look at Martin Luther King Jr.'s. Well, one day, he led a 381-day boycott because the whole Rosa Parks incident, man, she didn't want to go to the back of the bus. Really irritated him. Well, in 12 years, he was jailed 20 times. He was stabbed in the chest. His house was firebombed. So he got a call one day. He had a wife and 4 kids. And the guy says, we're blowing up your house. And he starts panicking, man, I got to get my family out of there. And he sits down, and then he hears a voice. And that voice tells him, Martin Luther, stand up for truth, stand up for justice, stand up for righteousness. That's what it said. And he said, I'm not leaving. And so a couple days later, he was preaching, and he gets word his house got blown up. He quotes that he didn't take one breath until he got home. But his family was okay, right? Because when you're on serving God's purpose, you have protection. His house was blown up, a wife and 4 kids, with them in the house, and they were fine. Is that divine protection?
Wow.
And so all these people come very shortly after. You have about 400 black men, all equipped with weapons. Of course, back then, now it'd be Uzis and AK-47s. right? And rocket launchers, but back then it was probably knives and chains and clubs. And he says, go home. We have to love these white people, are children of God, thank God, you know. White people are children of God too, and we have to love them. And then he wins. That's why he won the Nobel Peace Prize, right? Your house, would you guys do that? He got stabbed in the chest. His house blew up, jailed 20 times. Okay? Are you going to get stabbed if you don't take people's insurance? Are you going to get stabbed if you don't take a patient because they want back pain? Right? And your core values are corrective care. What's that conviction like? And what do we cower down to? That's changing humanity. From 1957 to 1968, 11 years, he flew over 6 million miles, gave over 2,500 speeches, wrote 5 books, wrote dozens of articles. In 1963, he gave the I Have a Dream speech to over 250,000 people. And in 1964, he was the youngest winner of the Nobel Peace Prize. That's 11 years. Look what he did. What did he feel in his body to go so above and beyond? Hey man, it took me 7 years to write 1 book. He wrote 5 books in 11 years. Okay, what was that? What did he feel? You know, if we could feel, when we feel a fraction of that, you can change humanity. He didn't have Facebook. He didn't have email. 250,000 people. He had a message of truth. This chiropractic message of truth. So we look at this. 2 things in order to be free. Number 1, forgive everybody for everything they've ever done. What's that mean? You got to let go of the past. If you're going to be truly free to be able to fulfill your purpose, you got to forgive everybody for everything they've ever done. You got to let go of your past. Isn't that fascinating? First thing, forgiveness. Number 2, lose your fear of death. Right? It's not how long you live, but how well you live. Lose your fear of death. Okay, that's pretty intense. If you want to be free, you have to, that's his thing, lose your fear of death. Okay, he was definitely assassinated. But he didn't have fear of death, so he changed humanity. I guess you got to look at it like, okay, if I can change the history of the world, would I risk being assassinated? That's pretty intense. His message was so clear that you get death threats. Would he continue to do that? Would you continue to do that? I'm not saying you should or you shouldn't. I'm just saying, look at a guy that changed humanity in the history of the world. Here's the thing, gang. You're teaching chiropractic. Nobody's going to threaten to shoot you. You're not going to die teaching chiropractic. However, is your message so strong that you don't have the fear of death? But look where we are today. We're living in a world where the government is threatening us with vaccination, mandatory vaccination, where you can go to jail. I would say, my son is above that vaccination age. However, if you have kids, could you sit there and watch a doctor put a needle with, 13 or 20 vaccination doses into the arm of your child? I would kill him. I would say, you don't go near my child. We may be faced in a world where that may be a possibility. I don't know. I'm just telling you what he said. Forgive everybody, lose your fear of death. That's pretty freaking intense. That's big conviction. Where your life purpose is so strong, the quantity of your life is not as important. However, you're not teaching a message where you're probably going to die. But is that how strongly you feel? Your sole purpose, your vision for your sole purpose is outside your comfort zone. Okay, everybody knows that. It's outside your comfort zone, but here's the real key. To get there, you have to cross your deepest fear. To get to your vision, it's on the other side of your deepest fear. And until you're willing to face your deepest fear, you will never attain your vision. So what is that? Now that's something to not even reflect on. Most people already know what it is. You got to cross through it, man. If you don't cross through it, you're not going to get there. And the consequences of not getting there are extreme. They're extreme with that deep, deep disappointment to know why you came here on this earth and then not fulfill it. So here's a law of giving and receiving. This is very important. There's one basic underlying fear. That's what it is. What is that? The fear of not being loved. Okay? That's your fear. It's really the fear of not being loved. Okay? So when you lose that fear and you have forgiveness and you lose the fear of failure, then you lose the fear of whether or not you're accepted. You lose the fear of whether or not people are going to love you. You lose the fear of wanting significance through acceptance, which is a human need. You know, do you need to be acknowledged? Do you need significance through the acceptance of other people? That's your greatest fear that's going to stop you from your vision. So giving and receiving are simultaneous. What's that mean? When you give love, you receive love. So you learn that love and significance does not come from outside you. When you look at Nelson Mandela, Martin Luther King, Mother Teresa, and Gandhi, they were all highly spiritual people. They gave love because they functioned at the vibration of love. And whatever you give is what you experience. So as you experience it, as you give it, you focus on the experience, then you focus on that feeling, then love becomes self-replenishing. That means the more you give, the more energy you get. Now what chiropractic has taught us is to give until you feel depleted. It doesn't say feel depleted. But we give, and then people take. Right? Where in reality, that's their issue. You give because that's what you experience, and as you self-replenish, then you have more to give. Actually, the act of giving should re-energize you. Only when you focus on the experience. So when you give love, is it love coming out of you that depletes you? Or are you experiencing and actually receiving on the same time? Because at a spiritual level, giving and receiving are simultaneous. So let's focus on that. Now let's give from our heart. That's the way you should feel, where your heart pours into the universe. Heart energy has more power. This has already been proven by quantum physics. Heart energy has more power than mind energy. Much more magnified, logarithmic amounts of manifesting energy come from your heart rather than your mind. So why don't we realize on a spiritual level, giving and receiving are simultaneous? Then it becomes self-replenishing. So here's some subconscious beliefs. What's that mean? Subconscious mean they're in your subconscious mind as part of being. I am a child of a loving universe. Is that a great affirmation? I am love, and love pours out of me. I experience love as I give it to others. I am replenished with love continually. Now, if you do that, it's going to change your whole vibration. How did Martin Luther King, all of those guys, Gandhi, Nelson Mandela, Martin Luther King, Nobel Peace Prize? Because they had nonviolent actions. They vibrate at the level of peace, and we're going to look at that in a little bit. Now let's look at Mahatma Gandhi. He led nonviolent, peaceful. What kind? Nonviolent, peaceful boycotts of British rule. So what happened is British was ruling India, right? Indians were basically felt like prisoners. He's like, you know what? I'm done with British rule. I'm leading these boycotts. He became a leader, reformed the whole Indian National Congress, created rights for women, advanced education, created a self-efficient economy that wasn't ruled by Britain. One man, right? You're one person. Look in the mirror. When do you look in the mirror and say, if it's not you, who's it going to be? If it's not you, then who? Put your finger on your chest and say, I am an inspired leader. Say it now. I am an inspired leader. Say that to yourself. He became a peace leader between the Hindus of India and the Muslims of Pakistan. I mean, you got religious rule in countries that have religious rule. You know what an emotional grounding and rooting that is? You have religions that are battling each other. It's been going on for years. He became a peace leader between those. He was jailed 4 times. He was jailed, right, for government conspiracy. Then the day he comes out, he leads a 200-mile march against the government. How would you like to go to jail for 12 years, and the day you come out, your conviction is so strong that you lead a 200-mile march from the city into the Indian Ocean with thousands of people to conspire against the same thing you just got out of jail with? What does that feel like? How many people would go to jail and cower down and say, I'm not doing that anymore? I mean, I just want to, I just want a peaceful life. Really? You won the Nobel Peace Prize, right? What kind of conviction is that? Nelson Mandela, for 20 years, directed a campaign of peaceful, non-violent. You notice a common theme here against South African government. 27 years in prison. Gets out, and then immediately does the same thing, urges foreign powers, don't reduce your pressure on South African government. We need rights. So he's engaging other countries until the black majority receive the right to vote in South Africa. 27 years, unwavering, comes out, same thing. And that didn't skip a beat on his mission. Was actually directing that from inside jail. 1993. He wins the Nobel Peace Prize, right? 1994 becomes the first black president. Okay, 27 years in jail. What would you do? Right? Comes out unwavering in his conviction. Changes racism in a country, right? Gains international attention. Changes history of the world. Let's look at the Apostle Paul, who the Catholics adopted 2/3, the majority of his version of Christianity. 5 times he received 39 stripes. Here's 39 stripes. You know why they did 39? Because they considered 40 was death. What are stripes? They whip you 39 times, with metal attachments on the back. So you're not just getting whipped with leather. 5 times 39 stripes. 3 times he was beaten by rods. 3 times he was stoned, shipwrecked, imprisonment several times. That's where he wrote letter to the Ephesians, I believe, and the Colossians. I just blanked on those books. Tabor, you know those.
Yeah. I actually don't know. I think it was Ephesians, though.
Yeah, it was Ephesians, and I think it was Colossians, and there's where he wrote the letters. He was in jail because God says, okay, man, you're traveling around. How about if you don't get beat or stoned, let's just throw you in jail so you can sit down and focus and write these letters to the people.
Amazing.
Sometimes our challenges have reasons. Went through hunger, thirst, coldness, nakedness, fastness, betrayal. He was robbed on his journeys. Unwavering. See, we're not going to get 39 stripes because we get out of network on an insurance company.
No.
We're not going to get 39 stripes because we have to teach a workshop when our greatest fear is public speaking. We're not going to get stoned because we say you're not committed to a chiropractic lifestyle. You want pain, and I don't do that. What we do is we teach the principle. So learn to communicate to a level so people are inspired to live a chiropractic lifestyle. Are you creating 8 out of 10 patients become lifetime patients? If that's your vision, you're not doing it, then gets training. Boot camps are awesome. Elite boot camps, by the way. Being good is not enough when you dream of being great. And that is the problem. That deep dissatisfaction. The biggest enemy of fulfilling your vision is success. It's your biggest enemy. Why? Because you look around and you look at conditions. You look outside yourself and you say, I should feel better than I am. And you may be very grateful. And you may have a great life, but there's that deep dissatisfaction when you know you're not what you're doing, what you call to be, to the highest level. And that's the difference between success and fulfillment. The reason we're given this, and there is a Chiro Thought Leaders, because we're committed, Tabor, all the Chiro Thought Leaders, especially Dr. Chris Zano.
Yep.
We're committed to your fulfillment. So come on, man, step up, move through your fear, your vision's on the other side. Here's why. Because you're a human being. You're not a human being on a spiritual journey. You're not a human looking for spiritual experiences. You're a spirit experiencing human on a human journey. That means we're a spirit first. Why is this so important? Because you came here. Do you believe you came here as a spiritual being in a physical body to change humanity with one of the best messages that has ever touched your heart and humanity? And if that answer is yes, then we have to move from a spiritual reference point rather than a human reference point. Now, how are we going to do that? Deepak Chopra, 7 Spirit Laws of Success. You will remain unfulfilled unless you nurture the seeds of divinity inside each one of us. We are divinity in disguise. What's our disguise? Our flesh. You think you're your mind. You think you're your body. You're not. You're a spirit that is in a body, walking through a meat suit, right? That we get to experience humanity from a spiritual reference point. And until you see and understand that and learn to live from that point, you remain unfulfilled. Why? Because every spirit seeks consciousness of itself. You're seeking consciousness of your spirit. You are, on a deep level. Regardless of what your, I don't care what your religion is, doesn't matter, man. Religion was created by man, right? There's a pretty strong statement. I'm sure I pissed some people off on that one. But there are certain rules that were created by man, and then there's spiritual laws. The spiritual law is you're a spirit first. Let's work from that reference point. We're an essential piece of the universe, has great intention. You are here. You are necessary. Every person standing in front of you is there to hear your message. And without you, there is imperfection. There are people waiting to be healed for you to become a healer. When you become a healer, the people that are waiting to be healed, they're waiting for you specifically because the universe has an intention. You're an essential piece of that universe and that puzzle. And without you, there is imperfection. People are waiting for you to come into consciousness so they can show up in your clinic and receive your message and your healing. Largest organism in the world is aspen trees, 47,000 trees, one root system. If you check the genetics, are exactly the same. We're all the same in spiritual origin. The most powerful principle in building your practice is the universal law. That's the law of unity. Isn't that really the big idea? You give an adjustment. You change consciousness. One person raises their consciousness. It changes the consciousness in the universe. Isn't that what BJ talked about? Tony Robbins, human beings follow through on who they believe they are. When you have a spiritual reference point and you believe that's who you are, you tap into the power of the universe moving through you. Now you become a channel. Your consciousness rises. You look at the conditions of around you in your life differently, and you see that you have power to be able to affect the lives of humanity, not just community. So who do you believe you are? Do you believe you're a servant leader? Because servant leaders set aside their own self-interest for the betterment of their followers. What's that mean? That means you put humanity before yourself. Now, it's not before yourself on your needs. It's before yourself on your ego. So we move out of ego into contribution. You have to take care of yourself. You have to be healthy. You have to be strong. You have to do your spiritual homework so you can help humanity. But notice self-interest. That's a small s. That's ego, as opposed to self-interest with a capital S. That's interested in your God self. So if you believe that you're a servant leader, you set aside your ego and you move into contribution. So let's move. How do we do this? Have a clear vision. I like this picture. Why? Because the eye shows the world. That means you have a vision of humanity that moves from inside you outside. Because when your reference point is from inside out, you change humanity on the outside. Do you see, like this person, this graphic shows? Do you see around the world? Do you see your practice around the world, or do you see it within a 5-mile radius? Number one reason people fail, they don't have a compelling reason. In my opinion, the most compelling reason is that you're a spiritual being. You came into this body to fulfill a purpose, and not fulfilling it is your greatest fear. When not doing it is your greatest fear, then you're willing to confront everything else, because everything else becomes smaller in contrast or in comparison. Do you know this is also why patients don't commit? You didn't give them a compelling reason. And the facts of a subluxation are not always compelling enough. It's how they feel about those facts. So learn life coaching principles and learn how to pull compelling reasons outside of people. So if I do this, I will gain. That's the pain of discipline. That's the pain of discipline of approaching your greatest fear. Gaining the skills and tools to become a master. Your practice is your ability to communicate, your ability to vibrate at a higher level of consciousness, to vibrate at peace. That's the pain of discipline. What's it take to actually live from a spiritual reference point? That's pain of discipline. Because if you don't, what's it going to cost? That's the pain of regret. The cost of not fulfilling why you came here on this earth is so great. The pain of regret weighs tons. The pain of discipline and comparison is ounces. Whatever it takes to gain the skills and the tools and the reference point is nothing compared to the pain of the cost of regret. There's some pretty freaking compelling reasons right there, especially when you live from a spiritual reference point. This is a book, Healed, that I am finished. It will be getting published. We're doing the final stages, getting the endorsements. This comes from the chapter D, Deliver It to the World. It's really a life coaching, spiritually based book on how to connect from a spiritual reference point, move through loving, forgiveness, living with presence, establishing your purpose and mission. This is out of the last chapter, how to actually deliver your purpose to the world. To deliver your purpose to the world, you must embody why. Why is your reason. It's your inspiration. Why are you following this life path? And you have to feel it in every cell and space of your body. When you feel it, it becomes compelling. You must feel this deep driving energy moving within you constantly. And if you don't feel that, the conditions or the challenges that you're going to run into are going to wear you down. You have to feel why. That's your purpose. Your purpose creates conviction, but purpose does not create success. Skills and tools create success. Purpose gives you the energy that pulls you out of bed. That when you have to face those giants, that you can look at Goliath like David and say, you will fall, you uncircumcised Philistine. I don't know how he knew he was uncircumcised, but that's another question. We don't need to answer that one right now. Okay? So that's the thing, man. Your purpose is what moves you. You got to feel it in your body, or you're going to cave to the conditions around you. Here's another quote. You may grow weary of the struggle, sometimes seemingly overwhelming odds. See, hey, don't read ahead, gang. That's why you need a spiritual reference point. Because the conditions of the world, when you're changing humanity, you're going to run into overwhelming odds, potential threats, people that want to pull you down, right? People, when you're doing big things, people are going to want to pull you down. Be careful who you associate with. Have some discernment, right? Because the bigger you are, the more odds you're going to run into. Have strength that moves from inside out. What is going to move you through these times? Because you can be so close to a breakthrough, you have no awareness of it. And if you don't have that power moving from the inside out, you're going to cave into the conditions. One moment before that breakthrough. That breakthrough will change the world, but do you have the power, conviction to move through the hardest of times, through your greatest fear? Because that vision is so close. Power to fit decision. Step 2, get a clear vision, then decide. Once you make a decision, the whole universe, how much? The whole universe conspires to make it happen. Why? Because you're a spiritual being. The minute you decide, you activate your mind. Your shoulds become must. You stop doing things, you say, well, I should do this, I should do that. Stop being half-assed. This is going to happen. I'm taking an action step today. You engage your will and your spirit. Why? Because you got a universal truth that's moving through you. The power of your mind, the power of decision moves the universe in your direction. Why? Because you're a spiritual being to fulfill a universal law, chiropractic. Right? So you've got the power of the universe moving through you. The universe obeys your command. Now master your skills. When you get skills and you master them, the right strategies appear. Now we got to move from inspiration to transformation. Again, this is out of the last chapter of Healed. With transformation, inspiration pours from you naturally like a spring of water pouring from the earth. You know how that happens? It just pours. It's unending. Creates a river that continually flows. Now inspiration flows through you. With transformation, inspiration naturally flows. Transformation begins with mindset. You got to decide. Mindset of transformation is when you decide in a moment, right now, or it can be a process that it will be done that is unwavering. Everyone, who? Everyone, put your finger on your chest and say, I have the power to decide what must be done. I have the power, and nobody else has the power. Doesn't matter what your conditions are. You have the power because God in the universe is on your side. You're fulfilling a universal law. Channel the universe through you. Operate from a spiritual reference point. So now you can see with insight, not with eyesight. What's that mean? That means I don't look at the conditions of the world. I see them, but I operate from a power that's bigger than any condition that's sitting in front of me. I am the power. I am. He that is within me is greater than he that is in the world. And if you don't have that, you're going to cave to conditions. So you see with your mind's eye, you see with your spirit through a spiritual reference point, not operating according to the conditions of the world. Otherwise, you're going to get weak. Stand up and be strong. Reasons come first. Answers come second. Tony Robbins, Unleash Power Within. That was in the last night. Massive water fight. 1 in the morning. The whole crowd was all fired up. Compelling vision plus strong reasons. Uncommon results. Say, I am uncommon. Put your finger on your chest. I am. Pat your chest. You can hear me. Pat your chest. I am uncommon. Now you got to have faith. So what do you have? Clear vision. Strong reasons, power of decision. Now we have faith. God doesn't always deliver us from things. He walks you through them. Why? Because those challenges give you courage for the next level of your vision. Stay connected to your spirit and know that it's already done so you can move those challenges. You know you're going to reach that vision. So this challenge is not a barrier. It's only a hurdle that you can walk through. You can jump over. Every trial is a test of faith. Why do you have those trials? So your faith can rise and your courage can rise and your skill and mastery can rise so your vision can go to the next level. If your courage and faith don't rise, you're not going to reach your vision because you're stuck in that fear. You got to cross that river of fear to get to the other side. Your biggest challenges create your greatest growth. So when you're in your biggest challenges, you say, man, I am getting stronger every day. Do you stand up to that? I have faith that I move through this, that I'm greater than any condition that's faced in front of me, that I have faith. Otherwise, man, you're going to be stressed. What language, what meaning do you have for that condition in front of you? Trust him and he shall bring it to pass. That's why you need a spiritual reference point. Because he may not deliver you, he may not have that challenge disappear because it's in your life to raise your courage and faith. Let's move through it. Your challenges are intended to build you up and launch you forward. Goliath made David a king, otherwise he would have stayed a shepherd. Right? God has Goliaths in your life that cross your path for a reason. Everything has a reason. The universe has intention. Goliath is for you to conquer, not to cower down to. While the whole Israeli army was shaking in their armor, a shepherd comes up, doesn't want the armor. Why? Because I'm not fighting this guy toe-to-toe. I'm hitting him from a distance. He had the right strategy and the right skill. It says, I've killed the lion and the bear. That was his training. Those were his initial challenges. So when he steps up to Goliath, he has that skill to whip that sling around and nail him right between the eyes. Why? He had to kill the lion and the bear and protect the flock. So when he stepped up to Goliath, he could be made king. How do you view your lions and your bears? If you cave on the lions and the bears, you will never face Goliath. If you don't face Goliath, you will never be made king. And your vision is to be king or queen or whatever it is. You got to face it. So get courage now. God allows haters, critics, naysayers to fuel your passion, to say, I am bigger than this. I can do and I am doing and becoming bigger than anything that is faced in front of me. God will make your enemies your footstool. So you know what? You have challenges. You rise me higher. You can't stop me or be a barrier. I use you to step up to the next level of my vision. Challenges are not meant to defeat you. They're meant to increase you. Give credit to that to Joel Osteen. He has videos on this. Tap into those, regardless of your religious belief. Storms arise within us and are around us, but you stay in the center. There's an eye of the storm, right? What's the eye like? There's sunshine. It's calm. There's no wind. When all the turbulence is all around you, but you're centered. Why? Because you're peaceful. What did Martin Luther King say after his house was blown up? 400 people on his side that say, we will fight for you. And what's he say? Stand down. Give love. Can you look at the storms around you and have inner peace? That is what creates your vision. So if you're pushing your way through life, you're engaged in your mind, not your spirit, right? You're listening to your mind rather than your mind listening to your spirit. If you look at that, that thought is pretty intense. If you're listening to your mind, you're pushing your way through life. You're pushing the boulder uphill. But if your mind has the thoughts of your spirit, you're moving through with peace. 3 beliefs that allow it to invite you manifestation in your life. Number 1, do you believe there's one intelligent substance? What's that? Universal intelligence. Already in chiropractic principle. Do you believe that substance, that universal intelligence, moves through you as innate intelligence, gives you whatever you desire, that you can command the universe, right? And with thoughts and spiritual energy, you can make things happen that are bigger, right? Do you relate to yourself by feeling of gratitude? Call it done. This is the original self-help spiritual book, Science of Getting Rich. There's a spiritual book. Law of Least Effort, Deepak Chopra. This is 7 Spiritual Laws of Success. When you harness the forces of harmony, joy, and love, right? We create success and good fortune with effortless ease. What's that mean? You don't have to push the boulder uphill. You know why you're pushing the boulder uphill? Because you're stuck in your mind. You're focused on conditions rather than having a spiritual reference point. You know, those people, Martin Luther King, Nelson Mandela, Nobel Peace Prize, right? They harness the forces of harmony, joy, and love, and peace. And what do? They change humanity. How do you do that regardless of your conditions? 27 years in jail. You're in peace, right? And look what happened. This is the map of consciousness created by David Hawkins. Okay, he did kinesiology and created these measurements. 200 and below is self-destructive. 78% of the population functions at a self-destructive consciousness. Everything above goes all the way up to pure consciousness, and it covers through love. It talks about vibration. At peace, you have illumination. At joy, you have transfiguration. That means you can change matter. Right? So let's apply this. Let's see, what does this really mean to harness the forces of harmony, joy, love, and peace? Here's what he determined. 2 greatest spiritual growth barriers are at 200. That's when you go from self-destructive, right, into promoting and into self-perpetuation and increasing your vibration. And 500. So at 200, right, you begin to expand. At 500, you're at love. Those are the biggest barriers that people have problems crossing. 200 is a level of courage, represents a profound shift from destructive and harmful behavior into life-promoting and integrous behavior. 500 is a very difficult hurdle. 4%. How much? 4% of the world population vibrates at 500. You want to change humanity? You got to be part of that 4%. You want to be a healer? You got to be part of that 4%. You want to fulfill a vision? You got to be part of that 4%. Right? Not 200. Right? 200 is you like yourself. 500 is you love humanity. The reason the level of love is so difficult to achieve is because your ego is rooted in the physical domain. Stop reading. What's that mean? You're looking at the conditions outside you, as opposed to a spiritual domain which emerges at 500. Wow, look at those leaders that changed humanity. They were spirit. They were conscious of their spirit. They vibrated above 500. They didn't look at physical conditions around them. Gandhi gets out of jail. He doesn't care about jail. I'm leading the march. Humanity has not changed. This country has not changed. The government is still being unfair. We don't have rights. We're leading a march the day I get out. It doesn't matter because I'm above jail. Nelson Mandela, I'm above jail. Martin Luther King, I'm above blowing my house up. I'm above getting stabbed. I'm above jail. Where are you? 500. This represents unconditional love. Love that is pure, unfaltering, unwavering, not subjected to any external conditions. This is what we've been talking about? Vibrating love means I don't care what's outside of me because what's inside of me is bigger than what's outside of me. Do you have that consciousness? That's when you begin to change humanity. Object referral versus self-referral. This is right from Deepak Chopra. Object referral. What's that mean? You're influenced by conditions outside yourself. Circumstances, people, things. You're constantly seeking the approval of others. Right? When you do that, you lower your conviction. When you want to be liked, when you want to be accepted, when your internal significance is dependent upon the approval of others, you're not focusing on your spirit as a reference point. Here's where you think and your behavior is always the anticipation of what's going to happen outside for you. Therefore, it's fear-based. Look, man. Look, man. You can't reach that vision until you cross the fear. What's one of the biggest fears? Significance. Fear of not being loved. So once you just operate at love and then you don't have that fear. How's that? Then you change humanity. Object referral, you feel intense need to control things. What's that mean? Intense need for acceptance. It's got to be accompanied by a need for approval. Man, I did not say this. Okay? Don't shoot the messenger if you don't like it. This stuff's documented. You got to get beyond yourself. Self-referral, your true self, which is your spirit. Read that again. True self, which is your spirit. Read that again. True self, which is your spirit. Your soul is completely free. Completely free. That's why you got to get past forgiveness. Martin Luther King, step 1 to freedom. Forgive everybody, everything, for everything that anybody has ever done. Forgiveness. Lose your fear of death. Self-referral is unfearful. Right? It's beneath no one. Why? Because we have unity. It's humble. It feels no superiority. Why? There is no significance of self. There's only humanity. There's only love for humanity. Recognize that everyone else is the same as you. Isn't that? We're all an innate expression of universal intelligence. The most powerful universal law to build in your practice is the law of unity, meaning we're all the same. Do you see the innate in the person standing in front of you? Do you see that their innate, when you look in their eyes, is the same innate in you? When you see that, you'll double your practice. When you feel that, you'll double your practice. What's joy? Joy, functioning at 540, it's above love. It's an inner joy that arises from every moment of existence rather than from an external source. Man, look at this message. It's from nothing outside you. It comes from inside you. It's a level where saints, advanced spiritual students, and healers dwell. Do you want to be a healer? Are you laying hands on people? If you're a chiropractor, you're touching people. Do you accept the responsibility of a healer? Then operate from the internal source of joy. At this level, one is characterized by enormous patience. Whoa! That's a big one. Okay, I need to work on that one a little bit. How about you guys? Enormous patience. Working on it. An unwavering positive attitude. Man, look at that. What's that mean? You're not caught up in the drama. Life's drama. Do you gossip? Do you talk about your stuff? What story are you telling? Are you so convicted on the story of your past that your conviction of your present and you as a healer is being suppressed? You have an unwavering positive attitude in the harshest of adversities. When things look the worst, you see the best. Why? Because you have an internal reference point. Most people don't reach this until they have a near-death experience. Okay, let's look at that. That's intense. People that are threatened with their life, then they realize, wow, I can experience, I'm just happy to be friggin' alive. Do you have to do that? You don't have to do that to experience joy because you're already a spiritual being. You don't have to have a near-death experience. However, people that have near-death experiences reach that. So if your spirit is seeking it, you might want to get there before you have a near-death experience, because your consciousness that seeks it will do whatever it will create whatever it needs to get there. So you know what? I choose to be in joy without having that experience. I choose to be that way because that's who we are. Peace, 600. Wow, this is higher than love. The emotion is bliss. Feel it in your body. Feel that bliss. Meditate. Say, I feel bliss right now in presence. Right at this level, there is no longer any distinction between the observer and the subject. What's that mean? There's total unity. Why? Because you're observing. You see life through yourself, so you're experiencing it as you observe. There is no difference. There's total unity. People here become spiritual teachers, great geniuses, right? And effect great contribution to mankind. Wow. Do you want to have a great contribution to mankind? Do you want to be a spiritual teacher? You are. Why? Because you're a chiropractor, teaching universal law that your spirit and physical body and subluxated spine breaks the life force flow into the physical body, causes disease and death of the physical body. Yet if we can remove that interference and move life, love, peace, joy through our nervous system into our body, then we can illuminate. There you go. The process one undergoes is illumination. I didn't even know what the next bullet was, right? The life view is perfect. Why? Because everything has intention. Your reference point isn't the stuff outside. Hawkins claims it's attained by 1 in 10 million. So when people say, wow, you're 1 in a million, you go, no, I'm not. I'm 1 in 10 million. All right? Do you want to affect the lives of 10 million people? Then vibrate at peace. Now, this isn't a shameless plug. This is serious. At our boot camps, all this stuff, this is stuff we teach at our boot camps. Because when you can do this and you learn to communicate, and then you develop the skills and tools to communicate, lifetime patience isn't that hard. I mean, you want to attain the level of peace, get a strong reference point. If you want to show how that relates to chiropractic and your spinal corrective doctor, go to the boot camps. I promise you will come out feeling this. Your intellect may not believe, but your heart always knows. You got to follow your heart. So here's 4 subconscious beliefs. Number 1, when we believe this, we have subconscious influence on people. What's that mean? That means your subconscious mind has influence through their presence. So rule number 1, belief number 1, chiropractic is universal law. It is a universal law. Life force to a physical body. Number 2, the universe has intention. What's that mean? Everybody in front of you is there for a higher reason. Not because of back pain. Why do they think they're there? Who cares what their mind thinks? Doc, my back hurts. Big deal. They're there for the message and the principle. People are innately drawn to your message. You know why? Because when you're telling universal truth from one innate to another innate is drawn to universal truth, right? The truth always prevails. Why does that? Why does it say that? Because a spirit knows universal truth. They know it on a spiritual level. So when you're talking to someone about chiropractic, do you subconsciously believe that they're there for a reason, they're there to hear the principle, and when they hear the principle, they're drawn to it? The rest is getting past their mind. The rest is learning how to speak to their innate through communication tools, learning how to speak through to their heart so you can get past their frontal lobe. You never engage in frontal lobe battles. That's a quote right out of the boot camp. Don't engage in frontal lobe. What's my insurance cover? That's a frontal lobe battle. You should know how to handle that and speak to their innate so they don't even ask that question. Every spirit desires to be in relationship with you. Do you believe that? They're there for a reason. You're communicating universal truth. They love that truth, and they're there to be in relationship with you. That's why they're standing in front of you. When you have these 4 beliefs on a subconscious level, you have subconscious influence. That means you have influence without talking. And when you do talk, they're going to hear that truth. They're going to be drawn to it. 4 powerful belief systems. We go through that in the boot camp. Congruency. Hey, Chiro Thought leaders, Dr. Chris Zano, all about congruency. All great inspired leaders, man, they are congruent. What's that mean? This is right out of Healed. Congruency is when something agrees with or is harmony with something with another. Things are congruent when they were matching. Well, what's that mean? Gradual changes of incongruent behaviors or conditions can be so subtle in the moment, they're unnoticed. Yet over time, they lead to chronic standing pain called suffering. right? Small behaviors that are incongruent, repeat over and over and over, become suffering. They grow. And they stop you from your vision. Incongruency stops you from your vision and causes pain and suffering. So you got to raise your standards. Step 4 was step 1, have a vision. Step 2, make a decision. Step 3, have faith. Now we got to raise our standard. You got to set the bar. What's that mean? Hey, if I'm doing corrective care, then I develop the skills and tools so people don't pick pain, right? I went through a bunch of coaching groups. They would tell me, give people what they want and then tell them about chiropractic. So what do? Well, we talk about their pain. How does your pain affect your life? Well, I can't pick up my kids. Great emotional reason to get started. Problem is, after 3 adjustments, I can pick up my kids. Doc, you're great. I'll come back when my back hurts. Is that your standard? Or is your standard creating a lifetime patient? Then be congruent. If you don't want people to pick pain care, don't give them the option. Be congruent. Raise your standards. Your standards have to express your core values, because if you're living outside your core values, you're miserable. They should inspire. Your standards and the procedures in your team should inspire great behavior out of people. Just the way you process people creates lifetime patience. And your standards create a straight line towards your vision. Now step 5. Now you've got to align your systems with your standards. So learn communication tools. If you don't want people to pick pain, don't give them the choice. I always laughed. I was told by 4 coaches, give them an option. And then I gave them the option, and then they would pick it. And then I try and talk them out of it. How stupid is that? And then one day I said to myself, because I was trying to talk a person out of an option, pain care, that I gave them, and they picked it. And I thought, why the heck am I doing this? I'm pissing myself off because I gave them an option I didn't want them to pick, and they picked it. So it's not that they didn't get it, I didn't get it. So I developed a system and learned how to communicate on a level that makes people inspired to find something within themselves that their innate wants to be and live a chiropractic lifestyle. You have to align your rituals. You are your rituals. That means anything that you do incongruent is sabotaging your vision, is keeping you on this side of your fear rather than that side of your vision, and it's frustrating. Your rituals bring your standards into life. Your thoughts, words, and actions must match. Dr. Chris Zano, it's got to be one of the most congruent people in the profession, right? You want to be a great leader? Be congruent. The standards and rituals of your team is your practice. You can only reach the level of practice of the team member with the lowest standards and rituals. In other words, how they think and how they live is your limitation to your practice. Your job is to raise the standards and rituals. It's one of the primary purposes in the boot camp. Bring your team, right? Raise their standard and rituals. Boom. Everybody, so many people break records on Monday. Why? Because their standards in the team and the rituals were raised. Now, patients hear that truth. They don't want to do anything less. The only reason a person walks out when they're out of pain is because you didn't know how to raise their standards on healthcare. In other words, your standards were higher than theirs. So all they did was act according to their standards. The reality is you didn't know how to talk to their heart. And so because of that, they didn't have a reason why to raise their standards. That's it. You will never, how often, never change your life until you change something you do daily. The secret of your success is found in your daily routine. This is right out of Healed. In reality, everything happens in small steps. Small steps lead to big results. Remember this concept during those moments when you feel tired and overwhelmed, because your vision is such an overwhelming task, but you're not supposed to do it in one day. It happens over time. Just take one small step today, right? There is no one giant step. There's only many, many, many small steps. Okay? The title doesn't make the person makes the title. Okay, the title doesn't make the person. So what's that mean? Stop being a freaking doctor, for one. You're a doctor when you're marking x-rays. Be a person, be a life coach. Learn how to pull inspiration out of people. Not just by your passion, by helping find and inspire the passion within them. The person makes the title. See, when you look at Nobel Peace Prize winners, right? Why did they get that title? Because it's the person they were that gave them the title. They weren't hooked on the title. They didn't do it You know, when Rosa Parks sat in the front of the bus, Martin Luther King didn't say, I want to win the Nobel Peace Prize. What he said was, I want to end racism. I have a dream that all people are equal, right? He had the dream, he had the vision, and with the vision and with manifestation of the vision, he gained the title. You're not the title, you're the person, and the title will fall in your lap. Who is that person? That's you. Put your finger on your chest and say, that's me.
That's me.
There you go, brother. Hey, here I am. I would love to help anybody. If you have questions on what we just went over, if you want some life coaching, you know, if you want an experience, any experience to help you attain what we just talked about, you know what? And this is for you. And I say this truly as contribution. You know, go to the boot camps. Call me on the phone. You know, Chiro Thought Leaders is about creating you as a leader. This isn't about us. You know, I'm no leader. I'm just a person with a message that if you get something out of it that helps you connect with your innate and your soul purpose, it helps you change humanity, all the power to you, man. All the power to you. That's why you're here. So if I can ever be a help in any way, just give me a call. There you go.
It's beautiful, brother.
Yeah. So I hope everybody got something out of that.
Man, I know I did. I like you said, you know, people are in front of us for a reason, and I believe I know I was on this this webinar for a reason. So I have an advanced talk actually on Monday night that I was taking notes while you were speaking. I'm going to share a lot of this in my advanced talk for my patients.
Right on. Cool.
Awesome. Well, I want to encourage everybody, elitecoachingllc.com. Visit Dr. Fred's website. Dr. Fred is amazing. I've been to his boot camps. They are phenomenal, life-changing, literally. Another thing for everybody who's listening still, I want to just give you a little heads up. Next week on Tuesday, we're going to be releasing a very special gift that we have for everybody who's on our email list. We have other big names in the profession that are going to be emailing as well. And I'll just let you in, since you're here on this private hangout, I'll let you in on a little bit of what it is. We really wanted to capture through video Dr. Zeno's, the process that allowed him to create such a magnificent practice. And we really took these videos that we're releasing next Tuesday are going to take you through his entire process. And I personally filmed this, so I went with him in his own, tell the story of how he built his office, or how it, you know, like Dr. Fred would probably say, how just the universe built his office. It built itself, but it was the story of it, and we get to share that next week, Dr. Fred. It's going to be amazing.
Cool, right on. We'll look forward to it.
Awesome. So thank you all for being on this webinar, and have a great rest of your day. Go share the message with passion, and we'll talk to you next time.
Yeah, please share this webinar as well. Thank you.
Absolutely.